check unless I go on YouTube. I'll see if this comes up. Yeah, so I went ahead and started the broadcast, but I don't see it on my end.
I just got a notification on my end.
Yep.
And that's weird. I don't have one on mine.
Perhaps because it's coming directly from your.
No, it's weird because it's actually through StreamYard and then through to YouTube through that. But again, I can't see members. I guess I could do view on YouTube here. Quick. Okay, yep, I do see it. All right, what I need to find out is how I can see the chat. Oh, there we go. I got it now. All right, I can see it now. Okay, good. Let me close that out. So that
I think you have to minimize the screen for the
All right, so I got Lucas Fishing in here, Owl's Nest Outdoors. Hey, Rich, how you doing? And Lucas, good seeing you. Thanks for coming in, man. Lucas and I met randomly out at Metro last season.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Sweet.
So we'll give it a few minutes to hit the 7 o'clock mark. But I just want to thank both of you guys for coming in and being a part of this. I appreciate it. This is, I don't know to the extent of when this is going to run, if it's going to be a weekly thing, a bi-weekly thing, a monthly thing. But I do know that in the off season, this will be definitely a weekly thing. For sure, from like October through the, quiet time through March, it's going to be good. Laugh Channel, thank you very much for showing up. Appreciate that. Awesome. And now, Michael, when we get into the the issue of drinking bourbon and how you prefer your bourbon poured, and what type of glass you would drink bourbon in, because this came up with an issue with a friend of mine. I have some bourbon glasses, but I'm going to horrify you tonight because I have to give a plug in to a guy that's pretty special to me. And it's going to be blasphemous what I'll be drinking out of, but it's not a sippy cup or anything like that. So that's good.
Let me tell you, there's been some times where just desperate measures kill for desperate situations. Just you got it works in the long run.
Actually, for Christmas, my wife bought me a bourbon set with some bourbon glasses and a bourbon bottle, and she had it personalized with our last name engraved onto the bottle and all the glasses.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty cool. It was definitely. I actually kept the box it came in because it was such a nice, classy box. I'm like, I don't want to throw this thing away.
Right, that's neat.
It was pretty cool.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. So let's see. We got Lloydie's Just Fishing UK. Holy smokes. We got people from across the pond.
Nice.
That's awesome. Amazing.
Super cool.
Yeah, like I said, I am not going to be surprised if some buddies of mine from Canada up in the Great White North and also hopefully Australia show up. But I'm not sure what the time zone is over there right now. So we shall see. All right, so I guess we're going to go ahead and kick it off here. This is Live to Fish, and you are watching Bourbon and Baits. We have special guests tonight, and we're going to start it off with both Michael Howard and we're going to have Tim Glendenning from Red Angle Fishing Products with us tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about bourbon. We're going to talk a little bit about baits, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about bourbon and a little bit more about baits. Now, since we can consume bourbon, we'll see where that talk takes us. And since we can't consume baits, but we're excited about fishing, all of us here, we'll probably get pretty intense on that as well. So let's hope we got Beard Zero in the house. Matt, thank you for showing up. Beard Zero Fishing, Matt won that RLDL challenge, Tim, that one that I was using the chatter tube for.
Oh, okay.
He absolutely destroyed it down there in Texas. Just
well, congrats.
absolutely wrecked it.
Yeah.
But
Congrats, Beard Zero Fishing. That's awesome.
caveat is Beard Zero is originally a Michigander, just
Oh,
for the record.
nice.
So that's cool. All right. So again, we have Michael Howard here and also Tim Glendenning from Red Angle Fishing Products. Thank you guys, everybody, for showing up. Real quick, I would like to just do some introductions. I don't think I need to introduce myself. If you're here, you know who I am. I'm Joe from Live to Fish, and I'm that ultra skiff guy, the UFO, the trampoline, whatever you want to call it. But it's not a kayak, but it's a lot better. And so I guess we're going to start with Mike. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here today.
Yeah. So the whole way that I got here today was started with my job moving me down here. It was an easy way to say this because moved down here. Used to live up in Saginaw. Used to fish out there. Used to do walleye trolling, perch fishing. And when I got down to the area, I wasn't familiar with the waters, so I looked for local fishing channels, and that's how I found your channel. And then when I seen that you were looking for this bourbon and baits thing, I wrote you and kind of gave you like an idea of what I had for the show. And I thought it was real funny. I've told a couple of people that it was like, well, I was looking for bait guys, but you're more than welcome to come. And I kind of gave you an idea of like, well, I've been, interested in bourbon, learning about it. Here's some of the stuff that I know, and just kind of gave you, threw my resume your way basically. And
that's
and
awesome.
so, yeah,
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just to let everybody know, I'm seeing some questions in the comments. Lucas, just for you guys' information, we're going to get to a question and answer session with the group. I know you guys might be chatting amongst yourselves, and that's great. But we are going to hit on some of those things, and the spinnerbait thing is definitely something we're going to talk about here pretty quick. I guess, Tim, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and your company, Red Angle Fishing Products.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, thank you, Joe, very much for having me on here. And Michael, nice to meet you, and thank you for having me on as well. So my name is Tim. I am the founder of Red Angle Fishing Products. We are based here in New Baltimore, Michigan, right off of Lake St. Clair area. So we definitely know a thing or two about attacking some big bass, largemouth and smallmouth. So I primarily, as of now, specialize in soft plastic baits and some fishing apparel as well. And I came across actually Joe. He came across my products at a local bait shop, Lakeside Fishing down on 10 and Jefferson. So if you guys are in the area, stop in, see Julie, see their team. She has just walls filled with products and aisles filled with products. Great people. So long story short, Joe stopped in there and he created a video. I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen that. If not, definitely check it out. But he came across my products that way and reached out to me because he is also located in the same town that I am. And we kind of connected because we had a lot of same interests in fishing and beliefs, and just had a great connection. And fishing is just an amazing sport, but also it's great how it can bring people together. So that's where I'm at today here on this live stream with you guys.
Awesome, Tim, and thank you for coming. And I tell you what, I can't give Julie enough credit. So I don't know if she's here tonight, but big shout out to Julie and congratulations to Julie on finally getting the keys to the kingdom. She is now the new owner of Lakeside Fishing Shop. So that is going to be, she's got some good changes coming in store. I'm not going to spoil it for you. She kind of let me in on some ideas that she has.
That's awesome.
But it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Look forward to it. For sure. And now something that I'm super stoked and excited about. All of you guys in chat, be prepared to be shocked and surprised. But Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you to make a little announcement here.
Yes, awesome. So a couple days ago, Joe and I were talking, and after we got to kind of know each other a little bit better over these last weeks or so, the idea of Red Angle Fishing Products officially sponsoring Joe came to fruition, and as of now, Joe with Live to Fish is officially a sponsored angler from Red Angle Fishing Products. And we really couldn't be happier to have anyone else aboard and join the team and the Red Angle team itself. So Joe, not only have we developed a friendship, but you are also looked at now as being a family member of ours. So congratulations to you. And also thank you so much for joining the family.
Tim, thank you so much. And I can't tell you how stoked I am. I'm absolutely over the moon over this. And I couldn't be happier. So hang on one second.
All right. Oh, there we go.
There we go. How does that look?
That looks great.
It's perfect.
That's awesome.
So thank you very much, Tim.
Oh, thank you.
Said,
You're welcome.
That was
thank
a leap
you.
of faith. And, you know, sometimes, like we talked about, God puts his hand on your shoulder and sends you in the right direction and puts you in people's paths. And it worked out. And I want to thank you again for the trust that you're putting in me and my content to help promote you and your products and your mission. And I think we're going to have a whole lot of fun.
Oh, I agree, and thank you very much for accepting that and proudly wearing the Red Angle brand on you. And
Absolutely.
You know, it's definitely mutual. So thank you so much.
You bet, and thank you so much again. And thank you guys all in the chat for supporting that. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you guys.
And we will run into each other out there on the water. Believe me, we're going to be introducing you to some great products, and you will not be disappointed. Again, go back to looking what I did with that RLDL challenge and the tubes that I put on that bladed jig. This stuff works. It works. And if it didn't work, I wouldn't be talking about it. If it didn't work, I wouldn't be having the relationship that I have with Tim right now. So not that I wouldn't buy his products. I was just really impressed. Overall, it's just a complete package. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the kind compliments, and thank you to everybody in the chat as well for the awesome compliments, and we appreciate that.
And Julie is here. Julie,
you
are the catalyst for what is happening tonight.
Hello, Julie.
That's Julie Beltowski. Julie Beltowski is now the proud owner of Lakeside Fishing Shop. And Julie, I owe this night, all to you. So thank you very much. You made this all possible. Thank you for being gracious and inviting me into your place. And I tell you what, I'm here tonight because of you. So thank you, Julie.
Yes, thank you, Julie, as well for taking a leap and of faith to have Red Angle Fishing Products in your store, and I truly appreciate that. And it has allowed Joe and I to connect, and now many others here that are in here, and including Michael, and so I appreciate it as well.
That's awesome. And Julie, I didn't spoil anything about the stuff we talked about of what you have in store in the future for the upgrades to the store. But keep in mind, I will be coming back and I will be doing another episode, and we're going to show some of the great things that you're doing there. And your heart's in it. It's in the right place. And I'll tell you what, you're doing a great job supporting the local bait makers. And that is absolutely incredible. So thank you very much. Can't thank you enough, Julie.
Yes, absolutely.
All righty. So now, here we got Joe Nager Fishing. If you haven't seen Joe's video on the baby duckling that I shared out, you have got to see this thing. This thing, I mean, it is the sweetest video. However, I do have one thing to say, Joe. My wife was about on the same line as your girls, and I'll tell you what, she was sad at the end. She thinks she should have brought it home and not just left it to be, but I'm not going to get into that. All right, so let's get into why everybody's here, and it's all about bourbon and baits. If you're not a bourbon fan, I think we're going to open up your eyes to some things. If you are a bourbon fan, feel free to join in the discussion. So this is going to be pretty cool. Mike, the first thing I want to talk about here is I know you are a big supporter of locally sourced bourbon products.
Yeah.
But let's get into some basics. What is it that differentiates, like, for example, people that don't really know might bring me a gift for my birthday or whatever and say, hey, I've got you some bourbon, and it says whiskey clearly on the bottle. What separates a whiskey from a bourbon?
So bourbon, there are specific laws that are set down that protect what is a bourbon and what can be labeled a bourbon. And so the mash bill has to be at least 51% corn. And then the rest of it can be mixed however the distiller wants. Has to be in a new charred oak barrel. So they only get to use those once for bourbon. That's why a lot of them have other whiskey lines they have is to pass those barrels down.
Gotcha.
And it has to be aged for at least, I believe it's 3 years at minimum to be a bourbon. And so
Okay, so
those,
so that's a legal requirement in order for them
in order to be, yes,
to promote it as a bourbon or
as a
label it as a
bourbon,
bourbon.
yes.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and so now there's, because of that age statement, a lot of times newer distilleries, in order to get by those first few years, they'll buy a mix where they'll try things from like a company like MGP, which is Midwestern Grain Products, where they'll fill in those 3 years while they're making their own product with a mix that they go and sample and go, I'd be proud selling this because it's what we're aiming for, and then they would then move their product in.
Okay. Now, in Tim and I had talked real briefly about bourbons and what he prefers, and he stated to me that he is a fan of a single barreled bourbon. Now, can you explain what that is to the people that are watching right now?
Yeah. So let's go with, we were talking about earlier also about Buffalo Trace and their distillery. So we'll use them as an example. So when you buy a bottle of Buffalo Trace, that bottle, in order to get the flavor that the distiller wants, may come from like part of it might be from a 5-year barrel, and part of it might be from a 10-year barrel, and part of it might be from, they're mixing these together to get that specific taste they want. Whereas a single barrel bourbon is going to come all from one barrel. And the way that they choose those is through that distilling process. And as they get to the point where they want to, stop aging it, the distiller will take some samples and they'll throughout the time, and then they'll be like, this is a really good barrel. I don't want to alter this. I want to sell this the way it is. And that's where you get your barrel picks and single barrel bourbons.
Okay, so then how do they stretch out their line or their brands to demand such a difference in price? How does that come into
So
play?
yeah, so when you're looking at different prices, your single barrels are going to get the most. Your cask strengths are single barrels going to get the most. Because even if it's single barrel, you could proof it down with by adding in distilled water, and then that's why most your whiskeys are 80 proof. Your normal over the counter kind. They proof it down to get there because that's where the general population is familiar with that. That's where a lot of our grain spirits are. Whereas your cask strength can be like 100 and 110, 104, 106. Just depends on where the different heat over the year has burned off the water inside the barrel, and you get left with a certain amount of alcohol based on the volume of what's left in that barrel after it evaporates.
Gotcha. And again, that proof also affects the taste, does it not?
Yeah, the higher the proof, the hotter it's going to taste generally. More of that burn.
So less of the smoothness.
Yeah, and even myself, like I'll start out with like an 80 proof and then move into cask strength because I don't want to immediately overwhelm my palate with something that's extra hot. I want to build up and get used to it.
Right. Now, and I know, like I said, I've already mentioned you're a fan of some of the great local distilleries. You brought some with you here today.
Yep.
Give us a rundown on some of the ones you like and where they're from and what's good about them.
Okay. So the 3 that I brought today, I brought because they were some of my favorites. So Motor City Gas, I went to today for the first time, and this was so good it became my favorite.
Oh, that's cool. I
So
love
this
that when you
is
discover something new.
so this is their Midnight Oil. It's a bourbon that afterward or is peated, which means it's got a smokier flavor, and it's smooth, a little bit of smokiness to it. It's not overwhelming, and so I think that this is a very approachable peated bourbon. And then they're based out of Royal Oak. This is J. Riddle, which is another peated bourbon. This is from Two James out of Corktown. This one isn't quite as, this one's like a little bit of smoke. This one's a lot of smoke. And I mean, I'm a person who likes a lot of smoke, but if you're not, this wouldn't be the one. They've got another one. It's called Smoking Gun Bourbon. And that's the one I would suggest if you're not into a super smoky.
Okay, so when you talk about the smoky, we talked about the proof. What does the smoky make it more bitter? Does it make it hotter? What?
So what they do is they use a peat, and depending on the distiller, they'll smoke the grain before they make their mash, or they'll smoke the after product to add in a smoking character. So what it does, it doesn't really affect the heat so much. You could say it would make it a little bit smoother at the most, but it's going to give you like a smoky characteristic. Some of these like super heavily smoky ones, it'd be like opening up a meat smoker and then drinking some bourbon. It just, that smoke just comes into your mouth and adds a new flavor to it.
Gotcha.
I have a question for you, Michael. How is that something that is like Woodford Reserve? They have their double oaked. Is that kind of like something similar as far as like the taste? That kind of has like a little, I guess, a hint of smokiness, but not real. I'm not really sure how to explain that one.
So your Woodford Reserve Double Oak, which is another, like, one of my favorites for like your normal, for your nationally produced ones. What they would do is they would have their first aging in the new oak, like we were talking about, but then they would move it to a second barrel. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get more of that wood tannin flavor, because they're all charred on the inside. And so you get more of that smokiness because you're pulling more of those tannins out of the wood. And that's where you get the double oak from.
Gotcha.
And that second barrel doesn't have to be a new barrel, because that first one's where your bourbon rules are. That second barrel is kind of just free game.
Okay.
And that actually moves really well into my third pick, which is Ironfish out of Thompsonville up north. This one is their bourbon barrel, or bourbon finished in maple syrup barrels.
Oh, wow.
And so this has a little bit of a sweetness on the end. It's not like super sweet, but it's got a little bit of sweetness on the end, a little bit of that maple scent to it.
Okay. And I noticed that when I had the Angel's Envy, that was a very, very sweet. I could taste a lot of the maple, and I'm not a guy that can really like differentiate all the different flavors and the taste of them, but that one was heavily on maple syrup. I mean, I felt like I had, some IHOP pancakes after I got done with that one.
Yeah,
It was
that was a nice, sweet.
It was good. Don't get me wrong.
It's good.
Yeah, definitely the good after dinner one. So, quick question also is, how do you prefer your bourbon? Do you pour it neat?
Generally, if I'm just having just straight bourbon, I'm going to have it neat. I'm going to have it. We were kind of bringing this up before. I'm going to have it. When I have it neat, I'm going to generally have it in like a fluted or Glencairn glass like this. The reason being is when you have that in there, it's going to concentrate those smells. And so it's going to give you the best smells, since most of our, like 40% of our palate, the taste comes from our nose. This is going to give you the best transfer.
So it concentrates that aroma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, on the other hand, I'm not going to turn down the cocktail. Those are definitely a pretty big fan there as well.
Okay, cool. And just to cut in here real quick again, Julie, I didn't know if you got the announcement or not, but Tim has agreed to sponsor me. And again, owe it all to you. So I just want to throw that thanks out again. I can't do that enough. Now, this is going to be kind of a touchy thing. I want to show you this. This was on the thumbnail. This is what I'm going to be cracking into right now. Eagle Rare, again, part of the Buffalo Trace brand. That is one of the most expensive bourbons I've had. And I know it varies by state. Some people can get this for $39 all day long. Here you can see it marked up anywhere from $60 to $100 or over that.
Wow.
Very hard to get. I'm going to give a tip later on how to get that. So if you're a fan of Eagle Rare, I'm not going to tell you where I'm getting it, but I'm going to give you an idea of how your best chances are to get it, to land it. Mike, what's your most expensive bourbon that you've had the pleasure of trying? And was it worth it compared to some of the other brands?
So Probably the 100% most expensive bourbon that I've had was a Blanton's that one of the other guys who I work with bought when he got a celebration for a promotion. It was a barrel pick for a store up north, and it was just a little over $100. And I would say that one was worth it.
Okay.
Now I've had some more expensive whiskeys outside of bourbon, but generally that one was worth it. Now I have had some that are in like that $80 to $100 range. There's been a couple, and that you drink it, and sometimes it's just not worth paying that much. Like you get what someone sees as like well, yeah, I picked this up for $80. Sometimes you're paying just for a neat bottle, or a nice topper. What does neat mean? Neat means that I seen that pop up.
Yep, good question, Joe.
Means that without any ice, no anything added to it, just pouring it straight into the glass, and just having it from here.
There you go.
And
that to me is the purest form of being able to experience that. And again, I don't have the glasses you have that give me the experience for the added aroma. This is my first bourbon glass, the old Jim Beam. I got this for my 50th birthday party from my sister. And this is where I'm going to horrify you, Mike, because tonight I got to give a shout out to this guy, Larry's Fishing.
Nice.
From over in Australia. Larry, actually, we found each other through YouTube. He is in Australia, but he originates from Canton, Michigan, of all things. Because he says things like good day, but it doesn't sound anything like, Crocodile Dundee when he says it. And so I messaged him. I'm like, you really sound like you're from the Midwest. And he says, yes, I'm from Canton. So we got in a huge discussion because I used to work in Dearborn, not too far from there. And so Larry, cheers to you, buddy. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. Like I said, sometimes it's just whatever gets it to your mouth.
Yep, absolutely. And I think with Eagle Rare, I don't think it's going to matter if I drank it out of a Dixie cup, not a solo cup, but an actual like wax Dixie cup from when we were kids. Now I want to switch gears just a little bit right here, and I want to shoot it over to Tim so we can talk a little bit about some of the fishing stuff here and his company, Red Angle Fishing Products. Tim, what made you come up with the name, and how did you get into the whole bait making process?
Yeah, great question. So the first part of that, how I came up with the name, I'll keep it short, is growing up, I had super, super red hair. It's kind of blondish red now, strawberry blonde, but it was very, very red growing up. And so therefore, my grandfather, who taught me how to fish, who got me into fishing, it was my best friend, and him and I were basically inseparable. He gave me the nickname Red because of my hair. And
awesome.
His last name was Angle. And as time went on, and people get older, he unexpectedly passed away in 2005. And I always wanted to do something that was in memory of him that had to do with fishing, because fishing has so many positive elements to it, whether it be to bring people like all three of us together, plus people in the chat. And it's it's just truly a great experience to spend with your friends or family, etc. So definitely a lot of great memories made on the water with my grandfather and I, and so it just kind of clicked one day. Red Angle Fishing Products, just when something's right, it's right.
Yeah, what a great way to honor his legacy.
I appreciate it.
That's really cool. And Julie had told me that story when I was out there, and being an orphan myself and losing my parents not too long ago, that really struck home. So that was really nice.
Yeah, so it was just something like to carry on his legacy, our heritage of fishing and all that good stuff, and so that's where I kind of developed the name, and fishing has always been a true passion, so it just was something that just was right.
Okay, and when we talk about names, I know there was a couple of tubes that you have. Is it the Fat Larry?
Close, Large Larry.
I'm sorry, Large Larry.
Yep, which was my
Tiny
father's
Tim.
first name. Yep, and Tiny Tim. So my grandfather, his name was Larry, and he was actually the large Larry tube is just the larger tube that we have.
That's like the 4-inch.
The 4-inch one. I'm not sure how well it'll show up on the video here as far as the size, but that would be our 4-inch.
Yep, that's the one I was throwing on the bladed jig. Worked really, really well.
Yeah, and then our 3 1/4 is a little bit smaller, as you can tell down here, which kind of ironically has a bourbon color to it right now.
And we're going to get to that too tonight.
But so there's the size difference. The Tiny Tim is more slim. It's actually very popular for smallmouth fishing due to the size of the mouth.
Yep.
Although they can choke down the large Larry no problem as
No
well. But yeah, as I was kind of coming up with some names, I thought, you know what? Outside of having my grandfather's last name involved in the name of the company, I didn't really have anything named after him as far as a bait color or name or anything. And like I said, two different tube sizes, and figured large Larry and Tiny Tim. So that kind of is what I just threw out there. So
that's excellent. Yeah, I definitely picked up some Tiny Tims as well, because like I said, the 4-inch seemed to work really, really well on the bladed jig, and I want to go to the smaller presentation for the tube jigs and getting on those smallmouth for sure.
Absolutely.
So what type of baits do you specialize in? I know we just had a question here. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I saw it too, and I wasn't trying to be rude to cut anybody off.
No.
So
Like
I kind of documented it in the.
I got to figure out how to do something with
it was asking if we
moderators
make
to help
any
out. Hard baits.
Hard baits. Yeah.
And I think that was Lucas that said that. Yeah, here we go. I'll put that up there for everybody. Lucas Fishing asks, does Red Angle make any hard baits?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we fish after I've been creating lures and everything ever since I was a young kid with my grandfather. So the lure making is nothing new to me, but certain bait styles, as far as some plugs or crankbaits, jerk baits, etc. Those are something that I have I can see pictured down the road in the future. But as far as jigs and things like that, terminal tackle, things like that, we do plan to roll out. Not exactly sure when, but we specialize primarily as of right now in soft plastics.
Excellent. And also, when you come up with these baits, give us a little bit idea of what baits you do specialize in. What type of baits or presentations do you specialize in right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we have anything ranging from your drop shot baits, which will be something like, I actually have a couple things here. Yep, there you go. That's called our dart and the magic shad. This is actually something right here of that nature. This is our magic shad, the one that Joe just showed. Our drop kick, this is our Obi-Wan Goby color here to imitate the nice Goby color.
That name. Love
that. For the St. Clair type gobies. So anything from drop shot, and if you're familiar with Lake St. Clair, you know how huge that is for success for attacking those giant smallies. And then our creature baits as well. We have anything from this is our rocket bug and the Michigan crawl to kind of imitate the color of some Michigan crawl crayfish, or as I typically call them, crawdads. But just kind of stick baits, tubes, and the Neds. Our Neds are pretty popular right now, given the time of the year. This is an example of our yellow perch to imitate a yellow perch. And then also, Joe, your favorite name, the Obi-Wan Goby right there. So
got the caramel apple here.
And that's the caramel apple right there. And I do have one right here as well.
The Obi-Wan Goby is just so good. It really is. It really is.
So thank you. I appreciate it. So kind of to answer a little bit more of that question that you had, Joe, I kind of developed a certain type of, I guess, colors and stuff like that. And the manufacturers I seeked out for, different type of bait selections and stuff to offer. A lot of that was based on a lot of studying, fishing, different locations throughout the country, I wish I could fish more, obviously, but time is kind of against you, and weather and all that stuff, and all that good stuff. But however, and just studying the fish's behavior, what they're into, how they react to things, a lot of science, I guess, kind of went into it. Did numerous surveys, and just a lot of just homework, I guess, went in behind why we offer certain colors. It isn't just for anglers here that are located in the Midwest or even Michigan. It is for everyone across the U.S. That is primarily bass fishing, but we also have a lot of the walleye guys who use our products and have a lot of success with them as well.
Excellent, excellent. And one thing I wanted to bring to everybody's attention too is I don't think you brought it up yet, the Ninja Kickers here.
Yes, absolutely. So that is our Ninja Kicker, which is under our creature bait section, but our creature bait section also offers it's kind of a dual attack between creature bait and trailer baits. And the Ninja Kicker right there that Joe just showed, that is our new color we just offered. It's a bright white color there. This time of the year, it was another thing I was kind of testing out, and I just noticed that a lot of these bass were just attacking the color white. It seemed like more than previously. I'm not sure why. I haven't really pinned that down. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to pin that one down. But I said, you know what? I need to release a very white colored, bright white color Ninja Kicker, and also other creature baits and jig trailers as well. And so we just recently launched not that actual bait itself, but the color itself for those style baits.
Yeah, and that's something that I've noticed over the past 2 seasons, actually. I've noticed traditionally in years past, white with chartreuse was really good. I would use a pearl trailer on the back, usually a fluke. They like the little bit of sparkle. They like the chartreuse, but I started seeing the bite die off a little bit. It wasn't as strong as it was in years past. What I did is I changed to all white. Once I changed to all white, it was on. It seemed like, for whatever reason, the white was what they were attracted to. And once I used an all white trailer on top of that, it got even better. So that was something that when you brought this up, again, this is the first time you're seeing this here. First back out there, it's going to be on, and hopefully get some good footage next week. White on white is, I can't explain it. I used to try to alternate, vary some of the colors between trailers and the skirts, and but the white on white has just really been powerful. It's been good.
Yes, and just for the record, Joe, as you know, and so the audience knows, you are the first official owner of the white color for the Ninja Kicker. So we sell a ton of those Ninja Kickers in different colors, but you are the official first owner recipient of that color white.
All right, just so you know, I'm buying more of these from you, but this first one here, I want you to autograph, and it's going up on my wall of fame right there. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole wall of fame thing, but I have a whole pegboard set up. Those are baits. Anything that goes on the wall is stuff that I've caught fish on.
Awesome.
And it's kind of out of control, to be honest with you.
And honestly, those Ninja Kickers are one of the most diverse baits that we offer, simply because you can fish them by themselves. They don't have to be used as a trailer bait. You can fish them weightless. You can fish them with a pegged bullet weight. And then obviously you can fish them as a jig trailer or something of that nature as well. You can run it sideways to kind of mimic those legs will kick, that ninja kicking style. Will give off kind of a panfish or bait fish type of tail movement, or you can run it the traditional style where it's just on flat, and that works great too. I actually had a chartreuse one. I'm not sure if I have any lying around here with me right now. They might be in my tackle gear, but paired up as a trailer bait for a spinning a spinner bait, and caught a nice bass off of it, and that thing was just over 4 pounds. That one was last week, I believe, but I ran that chartreuse on a chartreuse and white spinner bait. So that white again is kind of playing a role into that color selection.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not going to spoil it for where Mike's location is at. I'm not going to give it away, Mike, but I can see the grin on his face right now. He heard the size of that fish, and he's thinking these things are going to catch 5-pounders where he's at.
Oh, yeah.
So Mike, a bottle of bourbon is in your future. should we hook up and maybe you share it with me? And I'm not going to film it. I'm not going to disclose where that site is, but my PB largemouth is just under 5. And again, I have to go down to, the land of giants down where Beard Zero's at down in Texas or, Okeechobee. I have to go down south, I know, to get on a double digit. It's not going to happen here. But I want to break that 5 pound, and I want to break my 6 pound record on smallmouth. Those are my 2 goals for this year. And, speaking of goals, Tim, what are your goals for your company coming up for this year in 2023?
Yeah. So, well, I guess there are many of them. There are a lot, but the first things that come to my mind is to continue to extend quality products to anglers, so that they, just feel confident in what they're fishing, and they're not just purchasing, baits from some big box store that there's no, I guess, TLC involved when they're made. That's one of the biggest things of our priority, but also is to kind of continue to help educate fellow anglers on how to fish different type of fishing techniques, how to fish even if it's something that we don't offer. Again, we don't offer any hard baits right now, but I do fish the jerk bait a lot, and every Tuesday, if you guys want to follow along, you can find it on pretty much all social platforms, from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, etc. And every Tuesday I offer what's called a Fishing Tip Tuesday, where I release fishing tips that some people may know, and it seems like a lot of people do not know. And it's nothing that I'm withholding. It's knowledge that I have learned from other people, whether it was my grandfather, something I just learned from the internet, or something I just thought of and put it together. Whatever it may be, I just like passing that knowledge on down to people. So that is definitely one of the goals, as well as helping people to kind of improve their skill set, and also for me to learn as well from others.
That's awesome. And again, I'm going to post this real quick again from Beard Zero. He says, make sure you guys post the website for Red Angle. If there is one, I'm very interested to give some of those lures a zing here in Texas. And that
thank you.
I've already posted his information on some previous videos, BZ. It's in the video description. But I'm also going to give you his social media links as well, because for me personally, his Tuesday tips, this last one on the drop shot, it's something that for years I have struggled with, getting a good hook design, or I guess to set the hook correctly on the drop shot, where it sits at a decent angle, where it doesn't give a poor presentation of the bait fish and of the lure. And the tip that Tim put out last week, and I shared that out as well, absolutely outstanding. It was a game changer for me. I mean, it just it was pretty incredible. Now, the funny thing is, Rich and I are on the boat the other day, and I'm like, hey, did you see this? You got to try this. And he looked at me like I was from Mars. He's like, you haven't seen that yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't. So it's cool to see you, Tim, to share things that, yeah, there's guys like me that, I mean, I'm 54 years old. I've been fishing forever. And you know what? I hadn't seen it yet, believe it or not. I don't, like I said, I don't search out stuff. If it comes across my bow, I'm into it. I'm not one of those guys that goes down the rabbit holes. I just have too many other things going on in my head to do that. But that was outstanding. It was a game changer for me.
For sure. Well, I'm glad that you found that helpful. That's the type of feedback we like to hear.
Yep. So, Joe, getting back to what happened earlier, Tim is actually located. I don't know if I can throw a baseball as far anymore, but he's not far from my house. He's here locally in New Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a local bait maker right here. In fact, all 3 of us here today on the panel are all within a good driving distance. I don't think walking distance would be good to Mike's place, but close. But not
we
far
get
at
there
all.
eventually.
All right, now I got a question for both of you. Okay, and then this comes from the fishing end. What is your favorite species to fish? And given that, what would be the location that would be on your bucket list if you could fish any place in the world for that species? And I guess we'll start with Mike first.
Like my favorite to fish since I moved down here I've been going, bass, like hitting the beds out in the bay up here, and going through the cuts that I were in and whatnot.
Sure.
If I was gonna go someplace for them to go fishing, probably, someplace in the South, maybe, Texas or whatnot, just to really look for, like you were talking about, hitting that's one of the larger ones that we're not going to see up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing.
And Mike, we might have to talk about that. We might have to take a road trip down to see Matt. We talked about it before. Matt comes up here every year because he's originally from here, and we've gotten to do some collaborations. But it would be great to actually go down to Texas and get on some really good fish. It's funny because there's two guys that I'm good friends with, other YouTubers, Joe from Parabellum Fishing, and of course Matt from Beard Zero. Joe's in Florida, Matt's in Texas, and the way they talk about 3-pounders, it's like up here, you're doing something when you're catching a 3-pounder. It's a good fish. I mean, it's not a PB, but it's fun. Down there, they're like, 3-pounder. It's like, oh, come on, you're killing me. So I'm sorry. Is there no same question for you, Tim?
Yeah, so I'm mostly a bass guy, and if I had to split the hairs between a large or a smallmouth, just growing up, where I did and the type of fishing, I would probably lean a little bit more towards the largemouth bass over the smallmouth.
There's something magical about it for sure.
It is. I just and that I can go either way, but I tend to lean a little bit more towards the largemouth bass, just from my experience. And I don't know, it may sound like a cliche answer, but I think Lake Gunnersville in Alabama would be a heck of a bucket list. I have not fished there. Alabama produces some of the biggest bass, and they do it consistently. So, again, to Mike's what he said just moments ago, the South, it's hard to pass up on those southern lakes when it comes to bass fishing, because of the quality of these fish that they're catching is just unbelievable. So, to hook into a double digit and land it, I would be okay. I would be okay if all fishing came to an end after that.
Right. Oh yeah. It'd be the pinnacle for sure. Yeah, because I talked about this the other day on a podcast with a couple of their streamers, Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors and JJ Drones, and for me it would have to be Okeechobee, because as a kid it seemed like whether it was Bill Dance or
Roland Martin.
Yeah, Roland Martin especially. I mean, I'm going to date myself here, but those were the guys that those fishing shows were on all weekend, and it was just like you were just glued to it. And that's where the big monsters came from, and that would be, on my bucket list for sure. And I'm kind of with you.
That's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one.
That is definitely. And I've been to Florida a few times, and Joe and I talked about from Bourbon Fishing heading up there, but that was definitely something I want to do for sure. Pretty cool. So, all right, I guess, is there anything, let's see, one thing real quick right here. I think that's about it. If I didn't cover anything that we kind of previously discussed before, I want to open it up to anybody in chat. If you guys have any questions for our guests, whether it be bourbon related, whether it be bait related, have at it, and we'll start posting them.
I'd like to see here. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. What were you looking for?
Oh, I just Owl's Nest Outdoors here talking about his drop shot is his go-to technique there, and
he destroys it on it. It's amazing. This guy.
Drop shot's an awesome technique, man. It really is, and I think a lot of, just kind of to that point real quick, I think a lot of people just assume it's only for smallmouth in the bass world, that it's only for smallmouth, and that's not the case. I have personally fished the drop shot in, let's say, 5-6 feet of water in murky or stained water, and caught nice largemouth bass on it as well. So Owl's Nest Outdoor, I just wanted to kind of let you know I can relate to that. That is one of my personal favorite techniques of fishing.
And I'll tell you what, if you get the chance to watch his videos lately, both from Lakeville Lake and when we came off the main lake, Lake St. Clair, and did some work in the canals, he was on fire with the largemouth when it came to the drop shot.
Awesome.
And it got to the point where he's like, hey, I'll leave you that corner. You go ahead and try that corner. Because he was just, there was no more fish. I'm at the back of the boat. I'm the co-angler sitting back there getting all the scraps. And I'm like, dink after dink. It's like, I'll leave some for you. It's like, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. But I'm just so happy for him. It was just such an awesome day. And it's one of those things where you revert back to a 10 or 12-year-old, where it's just dinks or not, catching fish after fish on those canals. that pre-spawn is just, it's so much fun.
Absolutely.
Just so much fun when you're just, coming up one after another. And then Owl's Nest Outdoors has a question for you here. What mold companies do you use?
Yeah, so I use a couple different mold companies. Some of them are based here in Michigan. Some of them, I'm not sure where a couple of them are based out of, but kind of do something that's a little bit more down the road, a little bit more of something more of like what I designed from start to bottom, or from top to bottom regarding the baits that we offer. Eventually, one day will be strictly how we want them to be, and cater more towards what the angler's needs are, and that kind of touches on one of the goals that I was talking about.
Gotcha. Now, are you looking into using different composites too for the bait itself? Because I know you have like Z-Man is known for their Elastec. Are you looking at doing some things that may have more durability to it? I know the tubes are super salty, and Zoom was like my go-to for 20 years. I mean, those Zoom tubes were just such good producers. Is that something that you're looking at doing? Is altering some of the composites that you use as well?
So we already do alter some of the composites that we do when it comes to the chemistry of each type of bait that we offer. So we may use certain plastics from different companies, but we like the way one works for a certain type of bait over the other. But we
Right.
don't stop there. We also are testing, and a lot of our kind of research went into, you mentioned Elastec and stuff like that. It's kind of like what we wanted to kind of formulate our own based on manufacturers that we use to come up with what we produce, and that's what we do now. So we actually do have to make something like our drop kick. This isn't just as simple as putting some plastic and just away we go. We actually have it down to a science where we can kind of have that happy medium for that particular bait based on weight. And then we take it another step further, because each color we add in, we count, our colors have a certain amount of numbers that go into the drops, down to the drop. Each color may not be the same in weight, so a red may outweigh a blue, or vice versa. So we actually,
the intensity is different.
We pay attention to that stuff too, so that it's not a one size fits all, so that we, when we're producing something and we're testing it out, that it's not like, we use this for this color, it must work for this color. It's not how it works.
Right. And I know we talked about the same thing for the composites. It's like you'll use something for the worm that you won't necessarily use for the creature bait.
Correct. Yes, because you want that reaction, you want that presentation to be on point, but also you will fish a creature bait, different than a drop shot bait. You want that creature bait to be a little bit more hardy while it's going through brush or cover. Whereas sometimes drop shot, yes, you'll get down to the weeds with it and stuff, but you're not dragging it through a bunch of lay downs or something like that.
Gotcha. And Joe Nager Fishing asks, Tim, what type hook do you use for drop shots? I've been using the owner cover shot hooks and love them.
Yeah, so I'm a Gamakatsu fan. I just like their hooks. I think they're durable. They provide a nice sharp point. That's a great question, by the way, because there are a ton of hook options out there, and for sizing, it kind of just based off the size of the lure that you're using. If you're using kind of a smaller profile, then it kind of makes sense to use a smaller, maybe a size 1 or a size 2 hook. If you're using something a little bit larger, you want to, when you're drop shotting, we have our spear tail worms that are 5.1 inches. So for drop shotting, this is a pretty large presentation when drop shotting. I may bump it up to a 1/0, sometimes even a 2/0, depending on what kind of surrounding I have. But again, just kind of depending on that. But Gamakatsu is typically the brand that I would lean more towards than others, just based off of my experience with them. I haven't had a bad experience.
Okay. And when you talked a little bit about the colors, and I know we've discussed this in the past. I want to let everybody know I would like to work with you, Tim, on getting together a bourbon colored bait. I'm not going to release the specifics about what I want to talk to you about, some of the design for it.
For sure.
But I think again, Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors put something together for me, and it was just Rich and I were out there. It was getting hammered, but there was a few tweaks that I think could have been made to it to make it even more productive. Which sounds weird because it was so productive, but it was just close, but almost there. But I mean, and Ted did a great job. He just whipped these up on the fly, and it was amazing.
That's
They
awesome.
worked really, really well. So, and that's where I want to ask Mike. Mike, when it comes to bourbons and the colors of bourbons, obviously that has something to do with its age, is it? Or is it has to have to do with the oak barrel process?
Yeah. So the color a lot of times comes from location and weather. So
Okay.
if you're aging a barrel of bourbon in Michigan, we're going to have cold periods and hot periods, and it's going to really push back into the barrel and come back out of the barrel and push. Like, you're going to have your different angel cuts and devil cuts than, say, in Texas, where it's hot all the time and you're going to lose a ton of your water, and those are going to get dark, like way dark comparatively, because they're going to lose a lot more of that water that's inside there. It's going to
Okay.
come out between the staves and evaporate off.
So that doesn't really have to do a lot with the proof of it and that
Um,
hotness we talked about.
no, no. And then the other thing you're gonna land into is, with most of your trustworthy or passionate places, that's you're gonna see what I was talking about. But if you get into like some of the more like widely released, and like maybe like Jim Beam we were talking about earlier, if you look at the bottle on those, a lot of times they'll add caramel coloring because they want that all to look that specific
That
tone.
uniform, yeah, the
Yeah,
traditional look, right?
yeah. So they may not get the same out of their barrels, super dark like some of the hot states do, but they want it to be that right color, so they just amend it to that.
Gotcha. And another quick question on bourbons. Now we talked about some of the higher end stuff, the stuff that you've tried. Um, what would you recommend for somebody just getting into bourbon and at a decent price point, or what I would like to refer to when I talk about my budget reels, my budget combos? Um, what would you recommend as someone getting into bourbons, a good budget bourbon that doesn't break the bank, but gives them a nice, smooth introduction to where they're not like, "Ooh, I'm never drinking that again."
Yeah, I would look at something, and I mean, there's some ups and downs that people have about like Bullet, or Wexford.
Yep.
Yeah, like my favorite entry level is Wexford Reserve, or what on that side, or Maker's Mark. It's a little bit high in the entry level, but if you're looking to go buy it yourself, then maybe do, and you're not sure, you don't want to put the money out, then maybe go with something like Bullet. It's going to be something that is may or may not be coming from MGP, but it's going to be something that is a very targeted general audience bourbon. It's going to be the this is the most easy to drink bourbon you can. We're trying to hit a giant audience, so we're going to make
Right.
this easy to drink.
Okay. So now, and when you talk about Bullet, they also make what they make a rye and a
They make a
wheat.
rye as well. Yeah.
Okay, so now the difference between the rye and the wheat, what would be, I guess, more universally palatable to a entry level
Oh, the
drinker?
bourbon. So rye, the rye is going to be, even if you're talking high rye bourbon. So again, bourbon has to be at least 51% corn. For something to be a rye whiskey, it has to be 51% rye grain. Now you'll have bourbons that are high rye. I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but that would be like something that's like 70% corn and 30% rye. And what you're going to get, a lot of times, what you get with rye is you get medicinal notes. And so when you're looking at some like stuff from the past, you'll see like, and then they still make rock and rye. I mean, Fango makes rock and rye, but not the
Right.
alcoholic version.
Yeah.
So what they used to do is rye was became unfashionable for a while, and to make it more palatable, they would put rock candy in it, and that's where rock and rye came from.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so there are people who love rye, and that's, I mean, I like rye, and it's got that specific medicinal notes that you're not everyone's going to love.
Right.
Now, when you look at like the super expensive bourbons, like Pappy Van Winkle and stuff like that, generally you're looking at those. They generally tend to go towards the wheated side of things. So it'll be, like 51% corn and then a ton of wheat as a lot of the rest of the grain. So they,
and that's
you can
a
look
bump
up
up in price for those too, right?
Yeah. Because wheat's used in so many different areas. Getting that part of the grain can sometimes push it up. There are not super terrible options. Motor City makes a good wheated bourbon. The name of it's failing me off the top of my head, but it was really good off the top of my, and it wasn't super expensive by any means. If you wanted to try something, and between something that's a wheated bourbon that's handcrafted, and then moving to these like Pappy Van Winkles that are like, thousands of dollars, there's only so much better that something can be. And that kind of goes back to your previous question, like, is it worth it? And, there's certain times where I'm like, I can't believe that it would be something could be $2,000 more better than this type of stuff,
Sure.
So, but maybe it would prove me wrong.
Yeah.
They could, Pappy Van Winkle, please send me a bottle.
Yeah. So if you're out there listening, let Mike be the judge.
Yeah,
send it to him, and he'll give you his honest opinion.
If we get a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle, we'll meet in person.
But remember, don't make that decision. Don't be rash. Let's wait till we get to the end of the bottle before we make
right, exactly. We don't want
to. It's not rush to judge.
Sure.
That's awesome. All right. So, does anybody in chat have any additional questions, or do you, Mike and Tim, you guys got any questions for each other?
Yeah. Hey, Tim. When you're looking at making new designs and new presentations for like for the lures and soft plastics and that, what makes you go one way, like the Ninja Kicker in that side? Like where do you come up with those designs? What inspires you in that side?
Yeah. So the Ninja Kicker is actually a common. That's just what I named it. Other competitors or other companies out there, they also have the accessibility to have that type of product as well. But it kind of boils down to having the chemistry, I guess is the best term that I would use, down to make it do what it's supposed to most efficiently. So basically, to answer your question, I kind of sit back and think, this is what a lot of type of fishing that goes on when somebody is, flipping a jig or, doing a spinner bait or whatever it may be. And I'm just using the Ninja Kicker since you brought it up as a example, because it is an awesome bait. It really is.
Very versatile. Yeah, for sure.
Very, very. So, and I sit there and I think, okay, we needed to make sure that those legs can give off enough kicking, but, we don't want to make it too soft in case you decide to put it on a jig, whatever it may be. So I just kind of, I guess, look more or less of what is working and what has the most efficiency. It boils down to efficiency. So when you're out there fishing, yes, it's a great time, but you are also out there fishing to catch fish. And we all kind of walk back to the truck with our head down when we don't catch anything. And, we kind of dwell and think, are we really that good of a fisherman? When we don't catch anything, and then days we're on top of them, we're doing great. We're like, oh man, I can fish the classic and take it, no problem.
Yep.
Obviously I'm joking to a point, but my point is I kind of, the surveys that I've done, I've asked a lot of even professional anglers and just, regular anglers. I wanted from people who are weekend warriors to people who do this as a living, and everyone in between, to kind of provide feedback. And you kind of take that and kind of formulate that, those ideas in your mind and produce that, because, you see commonalities. We're, as humans, we're creatures of habit. We like something because it works. Our habit kind of produces results, as long as they're good habits. And in this world of fishing, that's what we tend to lean for. So I hope that answered your question, Mike.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And yeah, I actually had a question for you, Mike. Is I drink bourbon here and there. Actually, I'm drinking out of a fishing cup now. I don't have bourbon in it. I have coffee, I promise. And because I'm on a diet right now, so I'm on a health kick right now. And I also have my water to cancel out the dehydration from the coffee. But anyways, so
well, I'll have another pour on your behalf.
There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. But one of these days, when I get over with my diet, I'll be more than happy to enjoy some bourbon with you guys. But one of my favorite, probably the most favorite bourbon, and my most favorite bourbon is probably the Old Forester Single Barrel, which is almost impossible for me to get my hands on now. So obviously, as you know, Mike, and Joe, you may know as well, and maybe people in the chat, Old Forester will offer a lower end to, they have their Statesman and their Prohibition and all that stuff. That's the more expensive type line. And, that single barrel was just right. And I've went to numerous stores that would sell it and talk to the owners, and they all said the same thing. And the consensus on that is that's kind of a specialty item. You have to buy the whole barrel. They have to buy the whole barrel to get it, and all these, and I'm just like, holy smokes. So Mike, my question to you is, do you know of any place that I could get my hands on the Old Forester Single Barrel? That's it. None of the Prohibition. I bought, I think it was it the Prohibition or the Statesman? I can't remember. I think it was around $80. And I'll be honest with you, earlier in the conversation, when you guys were talking about certain ones maybe disappointing and the price tag is kind of a letdown, that was a big letdown. It was just a little bit too much fire for my palate. And but that Single Barrel by Old Forester, if you have the connections, Mike, you got to let me know.
Oh, man,
this turned into a bootleg session.
I was gonna say,
I guess so. I'm pulling an Al Capone here.
That's all right. That's all right.
You got to meet the truck behind. No, there's a couple of better areas that I found, like certain stores I found that have better selections.
Okay.
But none that I know of offhand that have that specifically. But if you're heading, since from the area, if you're heading towards Chesterfield, on that right hand side next to, I think it's right before you get to Rocco's and that little oil change place.
Yeah,
there's that guy there at the liquor store there. He's got a crazy selection for just being a
tried it. I tried that one. No luck on the Single Barrel by Old Forester. However, the 1792, that's a good one. That Single Barrel by them, they make a pretty compatible one. But and actually, how I came across that is I was at a charity event out in West Bloomfield, Michigan. It was called Kids Kicking Cancer, and they're an organization. This is nothing that was pre-discussed or anything. This is just something that is in this conversation, but definitely a good organization for you guys to look into, maybe to donate or whatever in the future. However, the children, it's Kids Kicking Cancer, so the children do suffer, unfortunately, from cancer, but they are able to lead a healthy life through martial arts and all that stuff. So that's where the name came about. And anyways, it was an event for them. Lila Lazarus from Channel 4 News, I think it's Channel 4, Detroit News, was there. So it was a big deal and and I'm not much of a golfer. I'm a fisherman, so I don't mind being dirty. So going there, I definitely had had spiff up a bit and go in there. It's a very kind of high end place, but it was for a good cause. But anyways, I won that in a raffle, and that's how I received it. And I look at it and I said, Old Forester, like I've seen the brand before, and I'm looking at the bottle and I'm like, Single Barrel. This will be interesting. I'll try it. And I almost gave that away, believe it or not, because I did not know. There was a gentleman there and he didn't know either. He was just like, oh, I like bourbon. I got whiskey. Do you want to swap? And I'm like, well, I'm more of a bourbon guy as well, and instead of a Tennessee whiskey. And long story short, I'm glad I held on to it, and that's how I came across that. So I
No
figured I would
doubt.
ask.
That's a
I
great
figured I would
story.
ask, yeah, Mike, if you knew about it, but it just kind of seems like everybody says the same thing, that they kind of got to buy it, the whole thing when they release it in order to stock it. It seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only place. Oh, sorry. The only place around here that I know that does store pick barrels sometimes, offhand, would be like Total Wines and More, but it's going to be pretty, hit or miss if they're going to have specifically that one.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beard Zero Fishing says Google has the Old Forester single barrel, but that price tag is up there. And yeah, I've
Yes.
done the same thing when I'm trying to get the Eagle Rare, and that kind of cuts into what I was saying. This, again, being my favorite, kind of same thing on the hunt that you're on for, Tim. Trying to find it. I have a good friend that she was lucky enough to find a couple honey holes that it's in a neighborhood that isn't really tapping that bourbon drinker clientele, if you will.
That would make
So
sense.
yeah, so it works out perfect. So with that being said, I took a drive one time and went out to some of the outskirts areas, little mom and pop shops, but also some name brand beer and wine places. And I'll tell you what, I was pleasantly surprised at finding the Eagle Rare. Downside is they put a huge markup on it. So what I guess my best case of advice would be to go off the beaten path, places where you wouldn't normally think people would be into it. Hence, go north, and you'd be surprised at what you can find.
Okay. Well,
Stuff
thank
is
you for
going to
that
sit on a
feedback.
shelf. It's going to be dusty. When it comes to Eagle Rare, I've never heard of a gallon of Eagle Rare. Okay. I mean, even looking at their website, I haven't seen that. It was in their store for $155.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and it was just the most beautiful. I mean, I heard angels singing. I saw the whole halo around the bottle, but then I felt my wallet, and there was a burn there, and it was like the two, devil and angel on my shoulder was like, "Don't do it, don't do it." Even the devil said, "Yeah, it probably wouldn't be a good idea." So I got good advice from both sides. And no, I did not buy on that, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a cool story.
Hey, James, welcome. James from Cranking and Yanking is in here. Speaking of the guys down south that hammer a lot of tanks. Good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you coming in. So, James, you're new here to this live, and what we're talking about is obviously Bourbon and Baits. So we have Tim from Red Angle Fishing Products, who's going over a lot of the products that he supplies, and also we have our bourbon expert tonight, Michael Howard, who's going over some local brews or local bourbons and stuff that he likes and stuff that he recommends. So good stuff tonight. So if there's any questions from chat, if anybody's got anything else they want to ask the guests here, have at it, because we're pretty much about to wrap it up. Like I said, I wanted to keep it kind of short and sweet and simple and, fun. And hopefully we obtain that goal tonight.
I think, at least on my opinion, I definitely think this was a great live stream, a great diversity between the bourbon and the baits, and just kind of the camaraderie of how everything just kind of meshed together. And the chat has been awesome. I'm reading through there, and it looks like I got to scroll back up, I think, but somebody mentioned on here, Opinion Nate. So, he mentioned that the Woodford Reserve, when he used to drink, was a good option. And I can say from experience, that's a very solid option. The price point is, it's not going to break the bank, and it's a safe pick. Kind of like a Maker's Mark or something as being a safe pick. But I think the Woodford Reserve is, in my personal opinion, better than the Maker's Mark for roughly around that price range.
Oh, no doubt about it, for sure.
And I'm not a professional bourbon expert. Mike knows this stuff inside out. I'm just going based off of my what my palate tells me. So that's my advice.
Yep. Like I said, I had that Angel's Envy, and that was given to me as a gift, and it was outstanding. Don't get me wrong, good bourbon. I would have never bought that for myself because of the price range on it. Yeah. That was a very generous gift, and like I said,
awesome.
It was just a little too sweet. Would I get it again? Yeah, because I would have it like an after dinner drink, something like that. But to sit down and actually like have it as a bourbon and a relaxing thing where I'm, listening to tunes, whatever. Like to listen to vinyl when I'm partaking in bourbon, but
There you go.
just chill out. And probably not the one I would choose because I think my blood sugar would go up too high.
Oh, yeah.
But let's see, we got some new comments. Oh, Joe from Parabellum Fishing. Joe, your ears must have been burning because we were definitely talking about you. Joe, I was going over, in case you haven't seen the latest video that I did, the segment that I have every Friday on my channel is Catches of the Week. And Joe was showcased on that this week. And that was the thing I was talking about with his 3-pounders being dinks. Man, we'd be, he's laughing now because it's like, Rich knows we were pulling 3-pounders and we're getting excited about it, Joe down there, he's like, yeah, whatever. It's like catching panfish. It's kind of funny. But I will have links to participants in the chat. I will have links to obviously Red Angle Fishing products and all of his gear. That will be coming. But do me a favor, everybody that's in chat tonight, everybody participating, please do me a favor, go back and like this video. Go back and leave some comments within the video and share it out. Please get it out to a larger audience. I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, good point, Rich. Yes, I agree. I'm the same way. It's just any fish is a good fish. Like I've always said since day one on this channel, a fish is a fish, for sure.
I have to agree with that.
And this right here, from Joe at Parabellum Fishing. I was out to dinner with my family, daughter's 14th birthday. Joe's daughter and my daughter share a birthday. My oldest daughter, Claire, just turned 22 today, and Joe's turned 14. So, Joe, happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to both your guys' daughter.
But just know, Joe, as that goes on and as they get older, you tend to clean your gun a lot more when the boys come over. It's just one of those things. But happy birthday to her, Joe. Hope the family's doing well. All right. So does anybody have any questions for me or anything else you guys want to talk about?
I guess to you, Joe, kind of some of the questions that you were asking, I guess I'll ping one back off of you is, what is your goal for Live to Fish and, in the future, as far as you can see?
Well, as far as the channel goals go, I would like to obviously reach a larger audience. My goal for 2022 to the end of 2000 or the beginning of 2023 was to get 2023 subscribers. Luckily, I was blessed with blasting way past that. I'm into the 3000s. So I don't think I'm going to hit the year 3000 to kind of push past that. That's not in the cards, but I want to continue my growth. But what I don't have planned for the channel itself is any changes to the content or the format or the presentation.
Nice.
I'm messing around with different things where it has to do with adding a little bit of music, a little more comedy and things like that. But the main format is going to stay the same. It's raw, it's organic. It is what it is, what you get with me. It's not showboating. It's just average fishing out there. Whatever tips I can give, techniques, product reviews to help you, then that's great. But, I'm not trying to change the world. I'm not trying to come up with something viral. I just want to be part of a community and build that up. And that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward. It's just going to be more of the same. Production value, I want to get a little bit more out of it, make it a little bit more entertaining. I've been dealing with transitions and things like that a little bit more to kind of change it up a little bit so it's not just fish after fish catch, that sort of thing. But that's really all I have for my goals, is just to build a larger audience and build a larger community. I want people involved in it. And that's the thing. And the key thing is getting the youth in, getting the families involved, and getting people outdoors. That's the main thing.
Yep. Great. That's excellent to hear. That's awesome. Those are great goals, Joe.
Thank you. So I'm looking to see if there's any other additional comments. Again, opening up to any more questions. Anybody's got any questions for our guests? Oh, I'll bring something up here. Just so you know, Joe from Parabellum Fishing, he does a lot of stuff with creating his own baits with do-it molds as well. And I have some of his Ned jigs, and they are the EWG style. So what that allows me is the ability to create weedless presentations with those Ned rigs. So that caramel apple, that's going to be something I'm going to be putting on Joe's Parabellum Fishing's Ned rigs.
Oh, sweet.
So it helps when once that vegetation starts coming up a little bit more, and you start doing when you're dragging that net across, it's going to help it from getting gummed up as much, having to bring it up and clean it. So you can rip through some stuff and hopefully get a better bite. And with that green apple color, and hopefully the bourbon color I'd like to work on you with will just definitely get that bite on.
Heck yeah.
So, but Joe makes a good product. So when it comes to tackle, Joe's got some good ideas. He's got some good stuff brewing.
If you ever come fishing back here, which you're welcome to anytime, you're definitely going to need some weedless.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He gets choked up back there. Now that I won't give the name of the place, but the creek we were talking about, Randy Burr, who is a tournament fisherman and a friend of mine that we've gone out and about, he was talking about launching from a place not far from there. But he said, hey, you can get your skiff launched from there and it shouldn't take you long to get down there. And I said, man, I don't think that trolling motor is going to last from a trip there and back through the whole thing. So I'm trying to find a happy medium of someplace to drop it in back there, because I'd like to get back in that cut. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, anytime, Joe, you got some good stuff going there. And like I said, people within the chat, I'm going to be leaving links to their YouTube channel so you can check them out. And of course, we're going to be leaving links to Red Angle Fishing products and all of Tim's products. So I hope that you guys would check that out. And again, I can't stress enough, the chat and the live that happens here is separate from what you see on the video once it's posted. Please do me a favor, like it, share it out if you could. And again, in that video description, I'm going to have some links, and leave comments for me in that as well. So that'll help drive more traffic and give us a broader audience to share this information with. So what I expect it may happen is that, in 6 months from now, especially in the off season, since nobody's fishing, we're going to have an influx of bourbon people coming in, because it's like, yeah, I used to fish last season, but now it's bourbon time. So let's go. It's like, should be pretty interesting. So, hey, maybe, Mike, if you get into distilling or anything like that, maybe we could come up with some stuff for, some kind of Red Angle bourbon, and some Live to Fish bourbon. That'd be kind of cool.
There you go.
Sure.
That'd be interesting. So, Beard Zero brought up a good thing here. Throw in a second battery. Matt, I did do that. I actually have where you can daisy chain 2 batteries. The issue that I have with the Ultra Skiff is that the batteries are so heavy. It weighs it down so much that I've tried it and I just can't get the propulsion. I have a 55-pound thrust Minn Kota on there as it is, and it just still does not cut through. Like I said, it doesn't cut through like a yak because it has that pointed end. This thing's that big round. There's nothing but surface area hitting that water, and it's just it has a hard time with a lot of weight. And again, add me and 2 batteries, and you're kind of at its max. So you got to be careful with that. But thank you for that tip. All right. So any last thoughts? Any last contributions to the chat? And I think we can pretty much wrap it up.
I would just like to personally say thank you very much to both Michael and Joe and everybody in the chat, for listening and having Joe. Thank you for having me on, and Michael, thank you for your wealth of knowledge in the bourbon world. That's awesome. It's always great to speak to somebody who has different kind of ideas and knowledge in different types of areas and stuff. So that's really awesome. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank both of you guys. Thanks for having us. It's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Mike, thank you very much. And again, we'll talk more off camera, but I really appreciate you coming in tonight and spreading your knowledge. That was absolutely outstanding. I really appreciate it. And again, for those of you late to it, Joe, Matt, you guys, just so you know, Tim and I have joined up forces, and I actually got sponsored by Red Angle Fishing. So you're going to see a lot more coming in the future. So, but
absolutely,
Joe, thank you for that. Yeah, definitely do that. Like I said, I will be putting a lot of information, a lot of links in the video description. And again, I can't stress enough. Give me a like, give me some comments in there, and be good to go. But again, Tim, thank you very much for the announcement. Thank you very much for putting your trust in me. I won't disappoint you. And again, when it comes to testing baits, that sort of thing, I'm here for you. Whatever you need from my end, I'm available.
That's
And Mike, you ever need to share some bourbon? Let's get together, man.
Yeah. Anytime.
Alrighty. All right. So thanks everybody for coming. And again, this is the first installment of Bourbon and Baits. It will not be the last. I'm not sure how frequent this is going to happen throughout the fishing season, but in the off season, this is something that's going to be a regular segment. And I definitely plan on building this out. So again, until next time, be safe, be well. And as always, live to fish. Take care, everybody. And thanks again to our guests, Michael Howard and Tim from over at Right Angle Fishing Products. Thanks,
Thank you guys.
Thank you.